We're only days away from the launch of the Switch 2, and the hype is getting real. But chances are that if you're watching this video, you're more than likely planning to upgrade from the original Switch to the Switch 2. If that's the case, you came to the right video, because I'll be covering everything that you need to know about upgrading, such as transferring your data, compatible games and accessories, as well as original Switch games that are upgraded on the Switch 2. With that said, let's get started. Let's first talk about transferring your data. Since the Switch 2 is the evolution of the original Switch, Nintendo is making the process of transferring your data from your original Switch to the Switch 2 as easy as possible. All you need is your original Switch console, your new Switch 2, a Nintendo account that's linked on both consoles, and a Wi-Fi internet connection. From there, you'll be able to transfer the following from your original Switch to Switch 2. Users, including Nintendo accounts and a company's Switch Online membership, purchase digital games, game save data, captured videos and screenshots, and parental control settings. Keep in mind that digital games that you purchase will automatically re-download on your Switch 2 when the system transfer is complete. And depending on how many you have downloaded on your original Switch, this will take some time, so make sure you prepare accordingly. For those who plan on getting rid of their original Switch before picking up their Switch 2, there's another method of system transfer where the console lets you transfer all the data mentioned earlier to Nintendo's dedicated server. Then once you obtain your Switch 2, you simply sign into the same user profile and retrieve the relevant data. Once you've sent the data to the server, your Nintendo Switch will revert to its factory settings. All you have to do is go to your system settings on your original Switch, scroll to System, then select System Transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. Then you must select I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 yet. It will then go through the necessary steps to conduct the transfer before giving you your expiry date to complete the transfer, which will be exactly 1 year from the date that you choose to do it. If you don't, the data will be erased from Nintendo's server. One last thing to note about system transfer is that if you play Animal Crossing New Horizons, your island will transfer automatically during the system transfer, all without needing to use the Island Transfer app. Now let's talk about compatibility with original Switch games. One of the biggest features of the Switch 2 is being backwards compatible with the original Switch games. And considering that Nintendo sold over 152 million Switch consoles, it would be stupid of them to not include it. However, Nintendo notes that the system hardware in the Switch 2 is completely different than the one in the original Switch, and as a result, some games will have compatibility issues or not be compatible whatsoever. Thankfully, the vast majority of original Switch games won't have any issues running on the Switch 2. But some games will either have startup issues, still be playable but have in-game compatibility problems, or have issues that will be addressed via a software update either on the day the Switch 2 is out or shortly after. The list of these games will be linked in the description as there's too many games to list on this video. However, some first-party games made by Nintendo will require an original Switch Joy-Con to play, as these games utilize these Joy-Con in particular. Whether if it's used in a certain accessory, have more force feedback vibrations, or use the IR camera, which are not present in the Switch 2's Joy-Con 2 controllers. The list of these games are shown on screen, so keep that in mind if you're still planning to play these original Switch games on your Switch 2. There's only one game that Nintendo mentions that won't be playable at all on the Switch 2, which is the Nintendo Labo Toy-Con Kit No. 4 VR Kit, as the Switch 2 won't fit in the VR goggles. In addition, Nintendo also lists the following multimedia apps that were released on Switch will not work on Switch 2. So if you use these multimedia apps, especially Hulu and Crunchyroll, you will have to wait for these streaming platforms to make native Switch 2 versions of these apps. Now let's talk about accessory compatibility. As I mentioned in my previous video on the essential accessories that you need to get, the Switch 2 will work with original Switch Joy-Cons and Pro controllers. These controllers will also work in compatible games made for the Switch 2. However, there are some caveats, as you will need to get an original Switch Joy-Con charging grip or station to charge these controllers, and that original Switch controllers cannot wake up the Switch 2 console from sleep mode. You can find more information on accessory compatibility on Switch 2 at the link in the description. And now let's talk about the original Switch games that are getting upgraded on Switch 2. These upgrades are split into two different categories, which are free updates and Switch 2 edition. Let's first talk about the games that are getting enhanced as part of a free software update. These updates give select first-party Switch games new enhancements for Switch 2, which ranges from optimized visuals for the Switch 2's 1080p handheld screen and high-resolution TVs, improved frame rate, HDR support, and adding in Switch 2 specific features like game share and mouse controls. There are 12 Switch games that will be receiving these free updates on June 5th when the system is out, and those games, along with the enhancements they're receiving, are shown on screen. So feel free to pause the video if you want to see those specific details. Then there are games receiving the special label of Switch 2 Edition. Unlike the original Switch games that are getting Switch 2 enhancements as part of a free software update, these games are getting the full-blown upgrades that you have to pay for. You can get these Switch 2 Edition games as either physical or digital versions in one package. But if you already own the Switch version of these games, you can just buy the game's respective upgrade pack, which will allow you to not double dip on buying these games again. When it comes to the upgrades and enhancements that each Switch 2 Edition game gets varies on the game. The one common upgrade that they will all get is improved resolution and frame rates. Some Switch 2 Edition games will get new features, such as Zelda notes for Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, mouse controls for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and what's essentially DLC for games like Super Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. There are a total of 12 Switch 2 Edition games at the time of recording this video, which are shown on screen. And not all Switch 2 Edition upgrade packs are priced the same. For most Switch 2 Edition games, the upgrade packs will cost $10, but for games that got new DLC, like Super Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, will cost $20. However, if you are subscribed to the expansion pack tier of Switch Online, you can actually get the upgrade packs for the two Zelda games for free, which is a great bonus, and it gives me hope that more upgrade packs are going to be added to this service in the future. Also, if you have the original Switch version of Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, you can actually get the upgrade pack for that game for $2.59, making it the cheapest Switch 2 Edition upgrade pack right now. And that's everything you need to know about upgrading from the original Switch to Switch 2. I hope that this video was helpful and informative to all of you watching. And if you did, consider giving this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more Switch 2 content like this coming soon. Also check out my video on essential Switch 2 accessories you need to get. Have a great day, and I hope to see you at the launch of the Switch 2.